We're on. How's this? Can you hear me? Hello?
Hello.
There's us. Amazing. So, welcome back. We are on episode 7 of Nice Nuggets. We are back.
7.
I know, man. It's like we've been here for ages.
Yeah.
Feels like a marriage. In a weird sort of way. We went through that rocky patch at the start where I cheated on you and brought somebody else in.
Yeah.
And we've kind of made it out the other end, and I feel like we're friends again. So,
Like one of those positive episodes of Jeremy Kyle, where it all turns out all right in the end.
were there any positive episodes of Jeremy Kyle?
Don't know.
I'm not sure there were.
I didn't really watch it, if I'm honest.
I mean, you've sort of called me out there because I saw a couple of them. It's one of the joys of being self-employed and having a little bit of time when everyone else is at work and you're supposed to be at work, but no one's there because you're up there at work.
Yeah.
So I watched a couple episodes of Jeremy Kyle, and it just made me feel better about myself.
Did it?
A little bit. You know, like all of a sudden, all of my problems paled into insignificance because whatever line.
Bad about humanity.
Yeah, like it wasn't that bad. I want to know where they get the contestants for Jeremy Kyle. I think they just go into like, you know what I mean? They're definitely contestants. It's not like it's not real. It's definitely a game show. But like, I think they just go into some horrendous Weatherspoons with a net, just pack them up and take them onto a thing, put them on stage, and give them a bit of cash. Like, there you go. You'll be all right. They can't be real people. Drop me a message if you've ever been on the Jeremy Kyle show. Let me know if you're a real person or not. That'd be great.
He thinks it's a game show. He thinks it's like fucking Family Fortunes.
I'm convinced. It's definitely like Family Fortunes. Only instead of winning money, you win kids. That's controversial. Anyway, should we get on with the actual podcast? I feel like we've had a couple of minutes of talking shit, and now we should probably answer some questions. So, we were just talking off air. I had quite a lot of questions through this week, which is awesome. And I'm gonna be really greedy, and I'm gonna put 4 questions into 2, because I feel like they can kind of tail off the back. I think you had a couple of good ones as well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Where do you want to start? Do you want to go, or shall I go?
I went first past couple of weeks, I'm sure. Although I always say this. No, you go first.
We have this every week. I really need to check who went first the last time, so people.
Your podcast, mate. You do you.
This is that kind of thing where really English people get to a thing and like, after you. No, please, after you. And there's about 20 minutes of after you, and eventually someone bowls through the door and you think they're really rude and you have a share.
Yeah, and then you hit each other because you both go at the same time.
Yeah, let's do that. I mean, yeah, that could work. So if we just talk for our same questions at the same time for the rest of this podcast, that'd be good. Awesome. Okay, I'll go first. So I'm going to start with a nutrition one. So it's one I'm going to take into the fact. So first and foremost, so Craig asked on the back of his question last week. Craig's getting in. He's getting questions in every week, which is great. Shout out, Craig. He said that obviously last week we said BCAAs are, to all intents and purposes, an enormous waste of time. So he wants to know what best to drink intra-workout, if anything. And I'm going to tell that into the same question as one of our members, Burnham, who has said, is it best to have a protein shake before or after training? I feel like they can both be answered in the same thing. And I feel like you're probably the best person to answer that. So,
yeah. So, I'll probably go with is it best to have protein before or after first? The answer is we don't really know. So there are some people that suggest that if you have protein before a training session, then it's the amino acids are in your bloodstream, ready to be shuttled off to the muscles as soon as you start working those muscles. So some people are like, well, intuitively it makes sense to have it before because then they're there, ready to go straight to there with. So obviously blood flow increases to those working muscles, the amino acids go straight there and help hypertrophy straight away. On the flip side, traditional, what people have always done is have something afterwards. Personally, I don't think it matters at all. And when I talk to people about spacing out protein every 3 to 4 hours, like we've mentioned on here numerous times, I think, if you are doing that every 3 or 4 hours, you've had one before and one after anyway. So like, unless you're training for 6 hours, you'd have had a protein feed in, say at 2 o'clock, train at 3 o'clock. And then like by 5 o'clock, you've had another protein feed in. So you've actually done what we wanted you to do anyway, and the timing becomes irrelevant. So as long as you're pulsing protein throughout the day, it really doesn't matter. When I said you'll eat, then you'll train, I sound like fish and a rice cake guy. I'll have a fish, and then at 4 I'll train, and then I'll have
a rice cake.
Fish and a rice cake. And then the BCAA's question is that if we're having protein before and after a session, protein during a session is completely irrelevant. because we're having it before and after. So if you're going to have something during a session, have some carbs, because carbs fuel your central nervous system. They fuel your muscles, because we've got muscle glycogen being used during a session. So if you want something, have some carbohydrates. I don't recommend protein for anyone. The only time I might is powerlifters who have got a really long session, so like 2-3 hours. Maybe some BCAAs might be useful. I've done that before, but there's no evidence saying that that's the case. It's sort of my hunch. But yeah, protein before. The other thing, I guess, is that some people don't stomach protein before well. So like if you're having a shake with whey and milk, that might not go down too well for some people. But yeah, something before, something after, and then you've ticked off everything you need to, and whatever you do in between doesn't matter.
Yeah, I'd be inclined to agree with that. And it's that kind of, I tend to, if I'm having some sort of long workout, say if it was more of a strongman session than anything else, and I'm going to be in the gym for, like say, sort of 2, 3, 4 hours, just grinding reps out every 20 minutes because rest. I just get hungry more than anything. It's like somewhere in the middle of the workout, I'll tend to, it's going to make me sound like a proper fat lad. I'll stop and have a snack. But it's generally quite carby, because then you sort of crack on for the rest of your workout. Like I've found, and this is purely anecdotal, but it mirrors what you said. I found from my own training, if I have anything too, inverted commas, heavy at the start, I just get off on a slow foot, and I don't get any real sort of traction into my session. It drags out, and I don't really enjoy it. So I tend to, and again, we've chatted about this before, it tends to be like a jam sandwich or something before, and then a pre-workout of some description. Smash through the session until I get hungry. Then it'll be something else a little bit carby, and then kind of go from there. And then it tends to be a shake afterwards, and it'll be sort of, usually sort of double scoop or something, and then some creatine at the end of the session.
Yeah.
Just because it's convenient, and also it's sort of a habit I formed from that old school kind of bro science anabolic window we were all told about when we were 15 and started lifting weights. And Big Dave at the Dungeon Gym down the road told you so. It must be true. It's kind of a habit I formed from the back of that.
Yeah.
If that's the best way of doing it or not, I don't know. But I mean, yeah, like you say, if you're getting it before and after your session, I don't think it's relevant what you really drink in the middle
absolutely.
of it.
Like, we don't know if after a session is definitely better. But we've definitely not got anything saying that it's worse. So it makes sense to. Like, there's a decent sort of theoretical reason why you might. So why not?
Yeah.
The other thing is, if you are going to have protein during a session, I would go BCAAs, just because whey is milk-based and takes a little bit more time to digest and might not sit quite as well. BCAAs aren't and won't. So if I was going to have protein during a session, it would be BCAAs.
Okay.
But
what about so I've started some, just for the sense of it, I struggle with very professional. I'm going to start that. I'm going to put my teeth in, and I'm going to try and ask that question again. So I struggle digesting whey. Just it makes me feel a little bit sluggish and bloaty. So I've tried on vegan protein, so like soy-based or pea-based, that sort of thing. And aside from the fact it tastes like grass, I find it sort of sits a little bit better. So would that be a viable option through sort of intro?
Yeah, potentially. It's probably suboptimal in terms of amino acid profile.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have leucine in, which is sort of the trigger for muscle protein synthesis. But then on the flip side of that, you are stimulating muscle protein synthesis by lifting. So I don't know how relevant that would be during a session. So it could be a viable option. I mean, if it's that or nothing, then often a shake wins.
That, yeah.
People are always like, oh yes, you shouldn't have a protein shake because real food's better. Well, it might be, but the option normally isn't shake or food. It's normally shake or nothing. Yeah. And then shake wins. So yeah, definitely not the worst option in the world. There's also like beef protein for people to try if they wanted to, egg, etc. I think they equally taste shite.
Yeah, they're horrendous.
They're all horrendous. I think they are getting better because people want more options. The companies are having to test more options.
Yeah.
Whereas like old school bodybuilders, like, oh, if whey doesn't sit well with you, have whey and shut up about it.
Just get on with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Just hustle harder. That's generally the bodybuilding thing.
Yeah, that's it. Because Big Dave. Knows his shit as Big Dave.
Oh, mate, he's big, so it must work.
He's massive. So, like, basically a scientist.
As per my email this morning.
Yeah, on that, I'm just going to shameless plug. We're making a thing of this. Where are we now? We're about 8 minutes in. 8 minutes into the podcast, and we're giving Charlie a plug. Oh. If you're not on his mailing list, jump on it. It's actually quite good. I'm saying that like I'm surprised. But it's a lot of good information here. And this morning he talked about paramedics licking people. So if that don't want to make you sign up, you really should. So I'm not going to elaborate on that. I'm just going to leave it at that. But you should definitely get on his mailing list. It's a good one.
Thanks.
And I think you'll find the link. He's testing my guest knowledge. If you go on to @CBNutrition_ on Instagram, there'll be a link in his bio that you can sign up for.
You know it better than I do, mate.
Smashed it. There you go. There you go. I'm not on commission either, so
yet.
Cool. Okay, grand. That was question one. I think we sort of rounded that up. I hope that answers Craig and Ben fine, actually. There you go.
Shout out to Craig for the great questions.
Shout out to Craig for the great questions. Yeah, man. Absolutely. Keep them coming. Keep them coming. It's awesome. So Craig's got a bit of a story behind him, actually. I'm going to give him a little shout, actually. So he got in touch with me, I think it was like the back end of last year or certainly early this year. Just wanted to sort of change his shit up a little bit and get some training, get a little bit of consistency. And I think he's had a little bad advice in the past. We just have a chat every now and again, and he gets on with his stuff, and he's making waves. Like, he's doing really, really cool. He's doing really cool stuff. I'm really excited to have him into the gym. He's had a bit of a thing he's not been able to get over yet, but certainly sort of helping him train from afar has been great fun. So, yeah, man, looking forward to seeing him in. So, yeah, no, keep him coming, Craig. Always a pleasure, man. No. Cool, man. Anyways, you had another one. What's your question?
What was my question? Oh, yeah. So it's a question from a client of mine, actually. So thank you for this, Catherine. It was, how long do people diet and bulk for? And you described it as the most it depends question that we've had so far.
Yeah, drink.
Yeah, and you would be right as well. So I'm not going to actually answer that with a amount of time in weeks, because it's as close to pointless as we'll get. It's just to reiterate what we spoke about on here before. You should diet for as short a period of time as possible. And then you should be bulking for as long as you possibly can. Because if we know that gaining strength and muscle is easier in a surplus, and that you can probably cling on to both in a deficit, depending on how long you're in a deficit for, how big that deficit is, it baffles me that so many strength athletes spend so long, and we said this in previous podcasts, dicking around in a deficit.
Which I've been asked to put on a t-shirt, by the way. So
yeah, I was thinking about this on a walk earlier, actually. I might actually get that on a t-shirt.
We need to do it.
Yeah. We'll both get it branded up and everything. That would look nice.
Perfect. Smashed it.
Yeah. If anyone wants one, I'm going to get them done, and I'll just cover the cost, and I'll get you one. Definitely. But yeah, like, if you're a strength athlete, why are you pissing around in a deficit for so much of the year, or worrying about your food intake for so much of the year? Your goal is literally to get stronger. It's not to get leaner. It's to get stronger. Get as strong as you can, and then we'll worry about a weight category at some point once you're there. Yeah. But like, it makes no sense to me that you want to get stronger, but you spend 40 out of 52 weeks trying to cut. So
makes no sense.
As short time as you can, probably as aggressive as you can as well, depending on when you do it. Get roughly as lean as you can, healthily, and obviously that's context dependent. Because the leaner you get, the longer you can bulk for before like body fat becomes an issue in terms of performance and maybe adaptation as well. So yeah, get shredded.
A little while, 2-3 years ago, I read quite a bit of research around this, because it was along the lines of kind of slow and steady wins a race, and that kind of, if I'm trying to lose weight, I need to do it over a long and lengthened out period. And in the back of my head, one, that's really fucking boring, but also two, that didn't seem efficient. So I did a little bit of research into it. I kind of found the same as what you just said there in terms of just get it off. So if you need to strip down, if you're 5 kilos away from a weight class you want to be in, smash that off sharpish and then get used to being in that weight class, or kind of around that sort of point. So yeah, it was really interesting research, but it's still, I feel like we're still in a kind of slow and steady world. Yeah. Yeah, just have at it. Like, just embrace that suck for like 6 weeks max. Get your shit done and then get back to what's fun and getting stronger again. That's yeah.
And also, like you said there, in terms of 6 weeks, you can diet for 6 weeks, take a bit of time at maintenance, and then diet again. Trying to diet for 15 weeks non-stop has all sorts of physical and psychological issues. It's miserable, for one. Yeah. Like, take 6 weeks, and we know there's research showing that diet breaks are effective, and you don't like put the weight back on. people are as successful, if not more successful, losing weight if they have a break during their diet, where they just bring their calories up to maintenance, get to enjoy some food again, and then they go again. So Christmas, for example, if you're going to diet now, you could diet for 3 weeks, have 2 weeks off Christmas at maintenance, and then diet again in the new year if you wanted to. So yeah, don't dick around a deficit.
Don't dick around a deficit. Mate, that's got to be t-shirts. We'll get them made up. That'd be awesome.
We'll talk about this after this podcast. We'll have a chat about the t-shirts.
Definitely. I'm on it. I'm going to make a note. Really aggressive scribbling so you can hear that on microphone so you know I actually wrote something. Awesome. Yeah, I like that. So, question 3, and this was, again, this is my guy, Burnham. He's getting back in it again. So we had half of the first question. He's getting the second question and all. So I had a question. I can't remember who asked me it, but Burnham then asked me a different one. So someone asked what the best accessories for a bigger squat is or are. And the answer to that is quite simple. More squats. There you go. That works just about anything. Best accessories for bigger deadlift, more deadlifts. That's it. And then he gets specific. So then he said, how does he improve the power out of the hole in a squat? So being as, you sink into the bottom of the hole and then you get yourself pinned under a squat. So it depends. It depends on the athlete completely. So if you're looking at getting stronger out of the bottom, tends to be what I would personally prescribe as movements would be things like pin squats, or concentric squats, or I think someone called them Anderson squats. There's probably a billion different names for it. I'm going to call it the night squat because fuck it, why not? Let's brand a movement. But basically, set some pins into a squat rack or a power rack that's at the bottom of your squat, like a couple of inches higher than the bottom of your squat, and then start from the bottom up. So you power out of like a sort of dead stop position. That's going to help you increase power out the bottom because that's literally all you're doing. That and pause squats because you take the momentum out. You haven't got that kind of bounce off your hamstrings at the bottom. They're the two kind of things I'd say for the bottom of a squat. Which is a really short answer, but I'm going to elaborate a little bit and say, in these sort of questions, if you're saying, I get stuck at X point in a movement, all you need to do is do that point a little bit more. So it's typically in the bottom because that's where the muscles get. So we're going to look at bench. If you look at a bench, all your muscles are stretched to the bottom of a bench, and then you've got to go through that longest moment arm in the middle of the movement. So the bottom of a bench is a really vulnerable place to be. Once you're past that kind of middle point, typically you can lock it out. Or, people do have issues with lockouts, but it tends to be more the bottom and that sort of middle sticking point. Work through those positions. So find the area of which you're sticking. So bottom of a squat, middle of a bench, the lockout in a deadlift, wherever it is you're going, it will typically be somewhere around the middle. And just hammer the fuck out of that point of the movement. So that can be into your main sessions. And then you just take 15, 20 minutes into your session, or less, 10 minutes, like 3 or 4 sets maybe, and just work through that point. So work through some pin squats or some pause squats. That said as well, I haven't got a pair of these, and now I'm going to say this out on air. I need to buy some for the gym, but you can get these little eccentric loaders for the bar. So they're kind of little hooks, and you stick them on the bar. Those that are listening to this on Spotify, you're missing some great little handwork that I'm doing here. I'm exaggerating.
I had no idea what a hook was until you just did that. And now I can
stick with fingers, where I went like, this is the hook, and they go over the collar. Yeah. And then you've got a stick that hangs down. That looked rude.
Why?
At the bottom of the stick, there's a wedge. And basically, you load plates onto the stick, and then at the bottom of the movement, it unhooks itself because the wedges took it off the bar. So it's working that eccentric thing. I hope that makes sense. If it definitely didn't make any sense, Google eccentric arms and you'll find them.
It did. I've never heard of that, but I understand what you mean now. Based on
it's basically a thing. So you load it onto the bar, so they're swinging free. And then at the bottom of the movement, they hook themselves off the bar and you carry on with your reps. So if you've got a set of 5, your first one is going to be 20, 30 kilos heavier because you put these hooks on there and you lower it down. It takes the weight off at the bottom. You can carry on with your set of 5. So it's just that eccentric load. That can help, and I think it does. That's another thing that's also doable. That's squats. You can do that for bench. I don't know if they're doing for deadlifts because why would you start from the floor? Maybe they do. I don't know. But yeah, certainly those are probably the 3 things I would suggest. So kind of pin movements, pause movements, and eccentric loads probably going to be your best friend. I don't think dicking around with like pistol squats and like single leg RDLs and things like that. They all have a place, but I don't think they're necessarily going to help you increase your power. They're just kind of working around skill development and accessory work, that sort of thing. But I don't think they're necessarily going to help power output. Yeah. I mean, that's...
I enjoyed that hand motion, which was shortly followed by swinging free. And then you did that hand motion just to make it as smooth as possible. I thoroughly enjoyed that.
I feel like my YouTube hits are going to go up on the end of that comment.
I'd have thought so, yeah. You're probably getting an OnlyFans account out of that as well.
Maybe.
Maybe.
I can afford to buy you a microphone.
I've got a microphone. I'm just in a bad room. I've moved house and I'm living in a tunnel.
Yeah. I mean, congratulations, by the way, for moving house.
Thank you.
That's awesome. I was going to tell that off at the start of the recording, but I didn't. So we're about halfway through now, and yeah, congratulations. There you go.
We're just doing the intro halfway through. Hello, everyone. How are we all doing?
So I know the podcast will make sense after this point because we're going to start again.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I like the fact you're in a wind tunnel.
Yeah, and me.
It's strong.
The point you made about squats applies to everything. Like, I get so fed up with people like, oh, how do I hack this? Or like, what's the shortcut for this?
Sorry.
If you want to get good at something, have you thought about just doing that over and over again? Like, is that, like, it seems to be like a lost art of just doing reps of things to get good at the thing. And being okay at the fact that you're going to be really crap to start with, which if someone's asking how do I get better at this, they'll probably identify the fact they're not that good at it. Like, just doing reps of it is a good thing. Like that, the emails, for example, writing, you didn't subscribe when I used to be really bad. I just kept putting them out, even when there was no one there. Just keep putting it out until you get good at something.
Yeah.
It's the same with food. Like, oh, I'm just not good at meal prep. Well, you tried it once and it just didn't taste great. So instead of just like iterating and thinking, oh, maybe I'll do this next time and do more.
Do it again.
Just give up. Yeah.
It's one of those, and this is a conversation I have with a lot of people. So for those that have never visited my gym or sort of know where I'm at or anything like that, my gym is not David Lloyd. I'm going to throw that one out straight away. I've got a barn. It's fucking cold and it's got a tin roof that leaks a bit. And I'm pretty sure there's a bird living in it. But like, the bars are there, the weights are in there. It's pretty heavy and people just get on with their shit. So people kind of come to that environment and go, it's a bit intimidating. Not sure I'm going to fit in. I don't know if I'm good enough to be here and sort of hold myself with the big boys. And then my answer to that is bullshit. So it is what it is. It's a strength training gym. And if you want David Lloyd, don't come to my place because you'll be bitterly disappointed. But if you want good, honest, hard work, we might be able to fit that in. But no one there gives a shit. No one cares how good you are or how bad you are. If you've just come back with gold medals from the Olympics or you've never touched a bar before in your life, no one really gives a shit. So people sort of respect hard work. And everybody had their first session. Like for me, I first went to the gym when I was about 14 with my uncle, and he took me to a place called the Castle Gym in Windsor. And it sounds lovely because Castle Gym and Windsor, it was horrendous. Like it was one of those places, there was like slime on the walls. Like there was a big hole in the floor that people had dropped dumbbells on repeatedly. So what they did was they put a T-bar row in it because you can get extra range through your T-bar. But they had all their protein shakes on the wall behind the counter. And then there was like the bit under the counter where they sold the other supplements. Place was horrific. But like that was my first session. And that was kind of what then led me down a path in the gym. But when I went in there, no one took the piss and said, oh, this, I don't know what he's doing. You know, this 14-year-old boy just getting me around a deadlift. And there's a person next to me, like Big Frank, smashing out 300-kilo deadlifts for reps. No one cared. And I really I carried that through. And I think if I'd have gone to an environment where people really cared about it, then I probably wouldn't have stuck with it. So I think we went off on a bit of a tangent there, but no one cares. Just do it more. So if I'd have gone to that gym and felt really intimidated and, you know, people took the piss out of me because I was weak and having just started, I probably wouldn't have gone the route I did. But I really quite enjoyed it. Went back, did it loads more, got all right. And now I'm not a bad strength athlete. So yeah, just do it more. And like I say, stop trying to hack things. Like the word hack is just a trigger word for me. It winds me up. Yeah. And most of the hacks are really fucking long-winded.
It's not a hack yet. It's longer than just doing the work would be.
It's like your mate's shortcut on a night out and you end up walking for an extra hour.
It's literally that, yeah.
We've all been there. I'm going to shout my mate Bob for that one. He did that to us once. Whether walking in a big circle back to where we started before going to the right direction back to his house.
Yeah, but why are we at the canal again?
Yeah.
That's a short.
How are we meant to be here? Just trying to get our steps in. Fitbit told me.
This town doesn't have a canal. You're like, yeah, no, this is the right way, mate. Yeah, for fuck's sake. Yeah, like literally just fail at things.
Yeah.
Like, no one ever got really good at a skill by just nailing it first time and then continuing to nail it forever.
It's okay to be shit.
Yeah, they just did more reps earlier, failed it earlier, and then learned from the failures quicker. And that's all you can do.
100%. I think that's an important thing to note, man. And we went on a bit of a tangent there from just sort of talking about accessories for a bigger squat, but definitely just do more of the same and you'll be absolutely fine. If, I'm going to caveat this, if there is something in that you can't, if squats give you pain, for example, or something like that, pain isn't something that should be there. It's probably trying to tell you something. Now, I'm not the best person talking about pain. I've got a friend who is very good at pain. So I might cheat on you again at some point and get him on, with permission. But pain's not a thing that's normal. So if you're squatting and there's pain in something, in your knee, your hip, your ankle, and we're not talking like pain like your soreness and a little bit of discomfort, I'm talking like pain. That's something you can address. And then there's probably some accessory bits or some skill development to work around that. But again, that's very, very personalized. That's completely individual and isn't really something you can answer on a podcast for general pop. So again, if you're in that boat, drop me a note. I'm more than happy to help you out and try and get you into a point where you're not in pain. That's
good
my
plug. Plug your coaching.
There you go. I'm quite good at it. Yeah. That's it.
The elevator pitch.
Yeah.
Let me coach you. I'm quite good.
I'm quite good. I'm fucking terrible at nutrition. That's why Charlie's here. He's good at nutrition.
You're above average now, though. Podcasts.
Above average, yeah. We're on 7 now. We're smashing it. I mean, I feel like we should be sponsored.
Probably. What was it last week? Shropshire gravy boats.
Shropshire gravy
boys at Shropshire again.
Who do we get sponsored this week? I mean, I've got a Hydra Peak water bottle on the go. Maybe if I show a Hydra Peak. There they are. There you go. You got 7 Up. You win. Done.
That's a big sponsor. If you get cash from them boys, you've made it.
Imagine 7 Up. Listen to this podcast and went, shit, we need these two on board. These are great.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that's the route we want to go down, but fuck it. Sponsors. I've got a mortgage to pay. Right. Anyway, last question. I think it was yours.
Oh, yeah. Someone said, do I need breakfast to be healthy?
Nope.
And the answer is no. So the idea that breakfast is the most important meal of the day was probably pushed to us by Kellogg's and pushed to mothers in particular by Kellogg's in like the 50s, 60s, etc. Kellogg's is now worth a couple of quid. They'd be a good sponsor, actually. So it was probably in their interest to tell us that breakfast was really important because they sold breakfast. Brilliant.
Imagine.
Yeah. And it also,
tell you shit.
I can't remember if we've spoke about this before, but like the research on breakfast at the time sort of backed them up. So it was only correlational evidence. So like people with a higher BMI were more likely to skip breakfast. And so therefore they went, well, breakfast is clearly good for you because people with a lower BMI were having breakfast. So breakfast stops you putting weight on. Obviously the idea of eating more food to not put weight on is a strange one. And that's why the correlations in research don't really tell us anything. So having breakfast hasn't caused them to lose weight. It just happens that the people who did have breakfast were at lower body weight. Now, if someone was skipping breakfast and they had a higher BMI, chances are that they were doing lots of other unhealthy habits and behaviours that was making them heavier. So it probably was that people that didn't have breakfast were not moving as much. They were having a higher calorie lunch. They were having all sorts of other things that were making them a heavier body weight than the people that did have breakfast. So it's not that. And when we've actually controlled the breakfast and controlled all those things in later studies, it makes no difference at all. So it's not the most important thing for your health. If you enjoy having breakfast, have breakfast. If you don't, then don't. And it's absolutely fine. It is entirely up to you whether you have breakfast or not. I mean, everyone will have breakfast because breakfast technically means breaking the fast. So at some point you'll have breakfast. Meal times are a social construct anyway. Life is meaningless. Like it really doesn't matter. Like if you have breakfast at 9 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, food's food really. Eat when you want to eat. It's probably a quite good basis to start when you're looking at nutrition.
Stoic, right there. Stoicism.
Doesn't it? Yeah.
There you go.
Control what you can control. Life has no meaning. Marcus Aurelius probably said that.
Probably. He said a lot of stuff.
He did. Busy man.
He said a lot.
So no, yeah, breakfast not that important. I personally don't have breakfast because I'm not hungry until 11 o'clock-ish. So I'll just have coffee until then. And also it's when I'm most productive with work, so I just don't bother eating until most of my work's done.
Sound. I eat. I mean, I'm going to tail that on straight off the bat. I just eat. I'm 140 kilos.
Yeah.
So for me, it's just getting food in. So my breakfast is generally porridge because I like porridge, hearty. Squeeze some honey into it, bit of fruit, that sort of thing. Tastes great with coffee.
You could do like a budget, like Quaker Oats advert. Like all of theirs is all sunshine and happiness. You should have, breakfast, all right? I have porridge, honey, fruit.
I like it.
And then it just comes up with a brand afterwards.
Yeah, imagine if Quaker Oats sponsor this.
Mm-hmm.
Also one with the one with the Scottish guy, Scotch porridge oats, that guy.
Yeah.
With the kilt and the shot put.
That would make sense, yeah.
That'd be him. That'd be great. I mean, my DMs are open. Companies who want to sponsor porridge companies, get at me.
7-Up porridge. Or
7-Up porridge. The water bottle.
Gravy boats.
And gravy boats, yeah. I feel like gravy boats would be our biggest chance of a sponsor out of all of that lot.
I think that's one I'd be happiest with. It's so like
it was 10% off gravy boats.
I get bored of the mainstream, like, oh, we're sponsored by this protein place.
Yeah.
They do the best greens powder. No.
I'm going to try and get to watch it from my local Londis.
Yeah.
That'd be a thing. That'd be awesome. That'd be great.
Oh, yeah, just get sponsored by like an independent post office.
Yes. Coincidentally, the post office is in my Londis, so...
This podcast was brought to you by Mavis at the shop down the road.
Shout out, Mavis. Nice. Oh, I feel like we've gone on many a tangent.
We have.
But yeah, I mean, the idea of breakfast being a sort of social construct and that sort of stuff, it 100% is. Like, I mean, if it was brought to us by Kellogg's or not, I don't know. That's all a little bit of thing. But it makes sense that it was, and it probably was. But yeah, if you, like you said, break your fast at 11 o'clock, when some people are having lunch, or 11s or second breakfast, or whatever you want to call it, depends if you're a hobbit or not.
Yeah.
But at the same, that's your breakfast, isn't it? And it depends when you wake up. Like, if you wake up at 12 and have food, then is that still breakfast or is that lunch? It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, it depends on your goal as well.
Yeah.
Like, if you want to lose fat and you don't like eating in the morning, and I've heard stories of people working with dietitians mainly, and they want to lose, well, they need to lose fat for their health. Yeah. And they'll say, oh, well, you need to have some breakfast. And they go, well, I don't like breakfast. And they'll say, can you have porridge? No, I'm not having porridge. And they'll go, oh, can you have bran flakes? No, I'm not doing that. They'll get to the point where they're like, oh, can you have a bowl of Cocoa Pops then? And they're like, yeah, okay, I can do that. You're like, how is this big bowl of sugar and milk so beneficial for the fat loss? It doesn't make any sense.
Don't spoil my dreams. Don't smash them.
I'm not saying I don't do it or you shouldn't do it. I'm just so yeah, like, but if your goal is to put on weight or maintain weight or perform, and you've got a session in the morning, should you have breakfast? Yes. Could breakfast be healthy for you? Probably. If you're massively under eating and you're not currently having breakfast, it's actually healthy to have breakfast, and it will affect your health. So, funny enough, it does depend.
Drink. There we go. So, I think we've done about 4 shots in this.
Decent.
It's a good. We've done all right. This is a great podcast.
If we get sponsored by some sort of alcohol company, like a whiskey,
I'd be up for that.
Yeah, same.
I'd be up for that. I've got a you can't see it because I'm in the way, but behind me in my office there's a little bureau full of whiskey.
Ooh.
So I might bring out a bottle. We might have to make this like a sort of later thing.
Mate, if we did this on an evening, we did like a rogue Friday night one. Live, maybe on Instagram live.
I'm so up for this.
Yeah, just get on the beers. Yeah, I'm in.
I'm absolutely in. I'd have to do it in the
Christmas
gym.
edition.
I would definitely end up, if I did that at home, I'd definitely end up with my wife coming back in and shouting me off because I woke the baby up again. So I'd have to be in the gym. But I think whiskey and a barbell loaded gym could be absolutely fine. I see no problems there at all.
Yeah, health and safety. I'd imagine you're the health and safety officer as well at your gym, as soon as you're in charge.
Yeah, I'm basically like head coach, HR, health and safety. I'm all of those things. So yeah, it's fine. I've done a risk assessment.
Get an okay from you, then.
Yeah. I mean, we need to get that done. Little. I'm up for that. I'm well up for that. Little Instagram live. That'd be amazing. Yes, we're in. I'm gonna hang on. There's me scribbling it down again. But yeah, we'll get on that. We'll work out some plans. And we'll get on that because that could be hilarious. I will have to walk to the gym. I'm definitely not driving home. That'd be awesome. Cool. I think that's about where we wrap it up. We've gone well over half an hour, which is absolutely fine. I think there was some gems in there. That was good. So yeah, get your questions in for the next one. This is the bit where I'm going to tell you about what we do. So again, if you're not interested in buying our shit and you start listening to us, tune out now. Thank you for coming. See you next week. If you're potentially interested in what we do, Charlie's very good at nutrition. You should probably chat to him about stuff if you want help with food and that kind of thing. So he's at CBNutrition_ on Instagram. I mentioned earlier on, definitely sign into his emails because they are, one, they're really funny, but also very, very informative. There's some good shit in there. And if you want to hear why he was licking paramedics, go from, no, paramedic licked him. There you go.
I'd like to hear that because I don't remember that.
Yeah, I'm going to spread rumours about you licking people. But yeah, definitely sign up because it's well worth a read. I'm a coach. I'm not good at nutrition, so don't ask me that stuff. But if you want to hand me your training, competition prep, there's a few more competitions coming up around now as well. I think some of the sort of smaller powerlifting organisations have got some competitions out. There's certainly some sort of virtual weightlifting ones. On which point, actually, I want to shout out Rich Wallace, one of my lifters who competed at the virtual European Masters week just gone, which is wicked. So he went through his bits and pieces, qualified for the Europeans and competed, put on a decent show. So
nice.
I think that deserves a bit of recognition. So yeah, good lad. For those that don't know, Rich Wallace, he's Clark Kent's doppelganger. He's identical. But I'm just saying, I've never seen him and Superman in the same room. So I think he might be Superman. So there you go. If you want to meet Superman, come down Redbeard Barbell Club. It's a thing. But yeah, that's about it. So come to me for coaching. Come to Charlie for nutrition. If you want to come to either of us for Graver Boat sponsorship, then we'll take your call on that, and we'll go
T-shirts.
On t-shirts. Yeah, we're going to talk about don't dick around in a deficit t-shirts because that's going to be a thing, and hopefully we'll have some legs and leeway for that for next week. Awesome. Cool, man. Thank you very much again, mate.
Cheers, mate. Thanks for having me.
I'll catch you next week.
Yep.